first.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning, man. How you doing?
I'm doing all right. How are you?
Doing good,
Are you still
man.
having to boil your water there in Texas?
I've been drinking bottled water, man. I wash my hands with it, but I've been using the bottled water, man. I
Okay.
don't take any. Well, you know what? It's like the water's been cloudy, so
Really?
people have been making different complaints to the city about the cloudy water.
Okay.
Now, the explanation is that when your water is cut off for so long, the pumps stop
Mm-hmm.
pumping.
Yeah.
The air builds up in the water. So this is what they're saying. If you let your water sit, you'll see it clear up because the waters evaporate. Well, how long does that take? I mean, it's been over a
A
week
couple
now. It's
days? I
almost
don't
two
know.
weeks. It's been like 2 weeks now. So
Wow.
a week and a half. So why do we still have to? Why is the air still in the pumps? Like, why is the air still there? It's like it should have been out by now because people have been using water. So it's kind of interesting, man. And so I just been boiling my water, man. How's the water in Ohio?
Just fun, just fine. You
It's
know, we
fine.
we kind of we the snow is starting to melt, but we had so much that it's still on the ground. So it's been like 40, 50 degrees, but we still have these clumps of snow.
Oh,
I
okay.
went for a walk yesterday in the snow, and it was just there's still a lot of snow out there. So I
Okay,
imagine in
got you.
Texas it's all gone. It's all melted, right? It's all gone.
Oh yeah, it's
Okay.
been raining, man, a lot the last few days. A
Okay,
lot of
that's this
rain,
way.
man. A lot of
So
rain.
apparently, as you said in our pre-show, there's still people without power still.
Not that it's not without power. I may need to go back behind that. It's the water issue. So a lot of companies have been working overtime, or they've been, there's just a lot of backlog of work for different people in the area because people still off of work. The people have still been taken off of work
Okay.
because their water lines busted and they're trying to get the repair work done on the water lines.
Uh-huh.
But it was, you only have but so many limited people that can do the work. Think about it across a state where you have multiple thousands of people, many thousands of people that were out without water or lines busted. It just takes some time to get, for a company to get this work done by a licensed plumber or something. It
Okay.
takes
Okay.
time. So, but that's what I last heard. There's people that were still trying to get the work done, that I
So
know in my area.
there's continues to be a lot of outcry about Ted Cruz. I've seen a lot about that over the news. We talked about that last week.
Yeah. And
That was still a big issue this week about him trying to skip out of the country during this crisis. So
the thing about it, he brought it up at CPAC that was really funny, man. I wish I had the clip, but he was saying how much he loved Orlando. Orlando's really nice. He said, but it's not as nice as Cancun. And the thing
he
about
said
it
that?
is, yeah,
Oh my
exactly. Those
God.
are exact words. So to say something like that, and you got people that are still suffering from the effects of that. 12 or 16 people lost their lives.
Yeah.
Um, it makes you think, okay, what's the purpose of your comment? Are you like saying, are you putting in their face that you went to Cancun, but then because of your ignorance, you came back? Like I told you last time, I'm not really concerned about the fact that he went to Cancun or he took his family there. I mean, I wish he was somewhere locally, somewhere in the United States. But I understand him trying to look out for the safety of his family. But that's not what he said.
No.
He didn't say
It
that at
looks like your
all.
granddaughter's on here.
Yeah, hey Aaliyah, how you doing? How's it going today? So yeah, it's like it kind of bothered me because just like I said, my whole issue he put it on his kids. My kids wanted to go to Cancun when he could have
Hmm.
said, as a dad, I want to put my family in the best safe place possible. But that kind of blew up with those secret text messages. Remember, friends of theirs kind of
Yep.
blasted them out, saying that this was spur of the moment. This is something they came up with recently.
Yep.
So that's kind of funny, man.
Well, it is. It is. I mean,
That's funny because you
we
got blasted by your friends.
we continued to have the Capitol riot in the news because now the House is doing hearings about what happened, questioning, doing investigations. They had the interim Capitol Police Chief on on the news this week, asking her questions about what happened. We talked a little bit about
Yeah,
that on Thursday. Um, Apparently, it was revealed this week that there is a terrorist threat, and I do make no bones about calling it a terrorist threat because that's what it is. It's a terrorist threat against the Capitol around Joe Biden's first official address to Congress, which would
yeah.
be the State of the Union address coming up. I'm not sure that they have a date yet for that, but at any rate,
They
there's a
don't
lot
have
of
a date yet.
people. There is some chatter out there about an attack
Hmm.
uh, on the day of that speech. It would be hard for me to believe that they would be able to pull that off because for the State of the Union, you have basically so many national leaders in one spot that
Yeah.
security is at its extreme. So, however, these things continue to rear their ugly head, and they have not gone away.
There was a ex, what was it, ex police officer, a New Jersey cop. Was it either current or ex New Jersey cop? I can't remember. Did
Hmm.
they have video footage of attacking a police officer during the January 6th
Yes, I
riot?
read that. I read that.
Yeah. But the thing about it, which makes this a concern for the possible bombing of the Capitol while Biden speaks to Congress, is that there's 250 unidentified people or I'll say that, I mean, suspects, 250 suspects rather, that are still loose. 250, that's a lot of people that can actually come together and do some damage. They're still on the
Yeah,
loose
it
out
is.
there.
It
So
is.
they've been circulating pictures of unidentified men and women who were seen in and around the Capitol,
Okay.
and they're trying to put names to the faces. And most of these wanted individuals are depicted wearing tactical outfits, including body armor and shields.
Hmm.
Others adorned in Trump paraphernalia. A few are pictured with makeshift weaponry slashing the police. So that's why they're concerned. And then they didn't give you any more facts, which would be good, is if they start putting faces and names to the people that they know who put these threats up.
You know, it's
It's
interesting
like
that
they're
they didn't try
still
to hide
protecting.
their identity more, to be honest with you. It's like they were just out in the open and they didn't seem like they were interested in covering their face with any kind of a ski mask or anything.
Well, it's like that entitlement of feeling that you're right and you're wrong. You
Hmm.
know, we're right, you're wrong. So why do I have to hide? And not only that, you have, like, think about this. You have people that you know organized this, set this up, right? They organized it. They were behind a lot of the crimes that were committed that day. But then you have your everyday citizens that were there, which was probably more
Hmm.
people of
Hmm.
that group than the organizers of this
Okay.
type of a riot. But you think about, if you have that many people mingled in, what is that? Is that any different than what we saw? Only difference was we saw their faces and some of them got caught.
Yep.
They made themselves. They were that bold with it.
Yep.
Remember during the Floyd protests, the you had people that were um, what do you call it? Agitators that were involved. They came in and caused some destructions.
Yes.
They were organized. Some of them been caught. They've been identified. And the thing about it is that they mingled in. They were the minority in that group.
Hmm.
Just like these people that think about the people that allowed people to walk through the Capitol, the officers that were involved, the
Yes.
police that were involved,
Hmm.
the any of the higher officials that were involved. They were the minority, and they can hide amongst the chaos. You know what I'm saying? It could have been people right there in those chambers, the Senate chambers on the Senate floor, that
Yeah.
were involved, or
Yeah.
in the Congress people that were involved. We already know names of people that support it, but then um, to take it a step further, you look at everything that's going on with those people that were at CPAC, that basically kind of support a lot of these people
Yeah.
that happen. Um, they're not criticizing it. Then you have several people in Congress who, right now during these Capitol hearings, chose not to, or was it the bill for the coronavirus bill? I can't remember, but there was a vote. So
Okay.
yeah, it was for the coronavirus bill. There's a
Okay.
proxy vote
Relief
that,
package. Uh-huh.
yeah, there was a proxy vote in there for, because of coronavirus, that the proxy allows you to vote without being in the chambers, without being there to vote in person. So you have
Yes.
a proxy vote because people may not want to travel or get close to other people while they're in these
Correct.
close
Hmm.
quarters.
Right.
That's why Pelosi went ahead and put this proxy in. Well, the people that attended CPAC that were politicians that were supposed to be voting said they want to do a proxy vote, because remember, the proxy vote is for those who don't want to, be contracted,
Yep.
do not
Yep.
want to contract the virus.
Okay.
They're using the proxy vote to go
To
to
attend
CPAC
CPAC. Yeah. Well,
in a crowded environment, into a crowded environment.
I'm not I'm not surprised about that, and
But it
I guess
shows
I guess
where
this,
we're
they're
at, though.
right, but um, y- yeah, I mean it's troubling that
It's contrary to why certain policies or proxies are put into place.
mhm,
So right
mhm,
now, you just said that this package is not important enough. This coronavirus package is not important enough for your constituents who may depend
mhm,
on
mhm.
this package in order to keep their small business open, keep food on the table, to have a steady income coming in while they're recovering still because of coronavirus. And now
It
they're
doesn't
saying, like, go ahead.
yeah, it doesn't surprise me at all because they will take their um they will take advantage of what they've been given. And
Yeah.
most Congress people, and this is from both parties, feel that they are entitled to things. We have
Hmm.
people um, at the first of the year, like sitting down, cutting in front of a line to get their coronavirus shots, um, ahead of people in their own districts who are elderly in nursing homes. We had
Right.
people who for a whole year, almost a whole year, um, talked about how masks aren't really necessary and trying to open things up, and the virus isn't as big of a deal. It's just like the flu.
Yeah.
And then they're on social media getting their picture taken on January 2nd, whatever it was, getting a
Yeah.
coronavirus shot. Uh, going going to going to Cancun while
Yeah.
your constituents are suffering at home. Uh,
Yeah.
this is this is a different class. There's like a political class in this country that is that thinks of themselves as higher up than everyone else in this country, and
Right.
it's not quite as bad as sort of the oligarchy images that we get from the oligarchy talk that we get from Bernie Sanders about um, people who are ultra rich and billionaires and this and that,
Yeah.
but their politicians have their own separate sort of tier in this culture. I think, and Biden
Right.
is included in that. Biden has been somebody um, who shows a lot of empathy for people, but he's been a part of this
Yeah.
Washingtonian sort of elite class for a long time. What the Republicans say about the sort of these so-called elites in the political class and career politicians is somewhat true. You know,
Yeah.
you get better health care than 90% of the people out there.
Yeah.
You get paid a lot of money. You get at least uh, a month off, maybe two. We
Yeah.
have, I hear all this stuff about, well, they're going to be, I think they're out of session all throughout August, is it? And then in December, when they're trying to pass relief bills and they're trying to balance the budget, they decide that, well, we can't come to a decision, so we're just going to um, go to recess. Okay. Well, in the meantime, how many times have we seen like government shutdowns because they can't get their act together, and people
Yeah.
going without paychecks, who worked for any kind of a government agency, um, or military even, they're left hanging because Congress can't get their act together.
Right. I mean,
I'm sorry to go on and on about it, but
no,
it's so
it's
true.
true.
I
I
mean,
mean,
like going to CPAC um, should be that should be secondary. That has nothing to do with governing your state, with governing your constituents.
right. It's just, man, it's just we need to just go through our whole system and start over. Everything, man, about
We should. We
American
should.
government. American government, man.
What
It's
do you
just
think of term limits? Is term limits something that you support, or is that something that would be a good thing or
yes,
not?
I think term limits are a good thing because it allow people to speak out who are relevant for what's going on in that time period.
Hmm.
That will
Hmm.
rotate into I think a younger group of people involved in politics. You still need the wisdom of people who have been there for a while, but you need to be able to pick people that are good for the job. Excuse me.
Yeah. So I
Excuse
mean,
me.
what
I
we have
mean,
seen
people
from
like give you an example. A person like McConnell who's been there so long.
yep,
What has McConnell really have done? What has he really done that stands out as
I
being
I
a
don't know. I don't know. I couldn't tell you.
I
Couldn't
couldn't
tell you
tell you
that.
either.
No.
I couldn't tell you either. But I mean, we could say that for a whole lot of people there.
On
And
both
then when I
sides of the
look at
aisle. Yeah.
on both sides of the aisle, I mean, you look at Biden, you know, for the things that he started off doing versus, and not to say, okay, I'll finish out what I'm saying first. Who's been there so long, and the complaint is, what has he really done? Um, there's been a lot of good legislation passed with Biden, but then there's about whole lot of bad legislation passed also. But then
So far, you mean
the
so far with
conversation,
Biden, you mean, or
Biden. So I mean, this over the years, it's been back and forth. So people always ask, like, they always bring up that 94 crime bill with Biden. That's one of his biggest, failures. But the thing about it is that you got to look at he's a 70 something odd year old man.
Hmm. Hmm.
How many 70 something odd year old men that were white who felt the same way he felt or thought the same way he thought? And not because he looked at it from a attacking perspective, but the deep seated things that are in your heart and biases that are there will make you say things. Just like he keeps saying stuff now that comes out of his mouth. Like he said that blacks and Hispanics basically, well, I don't want to misquote him, but basically saying that
Was this
they
recently?
can't, yeah, this week, that they can't uh, get online, the disparity in the vaccine numbers because they're not getting online or don't know how to get online to look for places to go get the shot, basically, something of that nature. And so he
See,
said these statements. He said these statements that come out of his mouth without really thinking how they sound to the people he's talking to.
yeah,
So
this is the
when
thing.
a person says stuff like that, it's something that's there. It's in their heart,
It's in their
and
heart. Yeah.
it's something that's been there over
A long period of time,
decades,
for decades. This is the
decades.
thing. This is why it's important for people like Biden, for people like Pelosi, for people like Bernie Sanders, for anyone, Chuck Schumer, you name it, McConnell. These people in Washington that have been there forever, that are in their 70s, and I don't mean to sound like I'm an ageist or anything like that, but they just are not going to understand what most people are going through in this country unless they have people around them telling them about this. The reason why Biden has changed his position isn't because of what he has heard and seen. It's because maybe a little bit, but it's because of the people around him, the people who he surrounds himself with, because he actually listens to them, listens to their concern, listens to people of color, listens to people who are a generation younger, who are on his staff, who tell him, look, this is what families are going through nowadays. And he
Yeah,
says, okay, I get it. And so
yeah,
that is why things have changed because of the younger generations despite when we see Washington and we think to ourselves, whenever we had Trump versus Biden, you think to yourself, well, here are two 70-plus-year-old white men that are
yeah,
competing for president of the United States. It's like this does not represent the demographic of your typical American citizen
I agree. I
anymore.
agree. I
So
agree.
they need people around them to give them the what not.
No, I agree. I totally agree. And the thing about with Biden now is that you do have those people, and I'm sure these people correct him every time he says something I would call stupid.
Hmm.
The thing about it is that he needs to stop saying these things on camera like that. I mean, he really what it is, he's exposing himself, as I talk about every week. He exposes himself, but it's time for his circle to start prepping him better and get some of these old ways out of him. That I mean, they're coming out without him even thinking about it.
Well, they
So
used to
you
be a
shouldn't
lot
have to.
worse. They used to be a lot worse when he was running for president the first time, and
Yeah,
he in 2008, 2007, when he was a primary candidate, he was sticking his foot in his mouth a lot. And like I say, um, I didn't like Biden for a long time, and so
yeah,
he's mellowed with age, and he's actually, um, you know, not quite as sort of outspoken. He doesn't have these sort of gaffes like he
yeah,
used to. But yeah, if you just let him go, he's going to say some things that are like, "What?"
yeah. I mean, and see, that again comes to who you surround yourself with. I believe he has himself surrounded by some good people now, but the thing about it is that he still doesn't think before he speaks.
No, not
So
always, not always. No.
that's what's gonna hurt him when it comes down to race relations in our country,
Hmm. Hmm.
and that's why we getting back to your original comment about do we need term limits? I think some of these people that come from uh, what is it? I would say early, late civil rights movement politics. They should no longer be in politics right now,
Hmm.
in my opinion.
Okay.
Um, because the mind, unless you like a Bernie Sanders, You showed yourself. You showed who you are and what side of the aisle you come from. You show what you really stand for.
Mm-hmm.
And he kind of gets it wrong sometimes. But he's put himself on the line to show where he's fighting.
Hmm.
You've seen him in the fight. So if you haven't been in that fight, I feel that a lot of times you come from a place of not understanding that you say things that are totally inappropriate because that's how you've been brought up and that's how you've been raised. It's in you. And it's time to change that. And you see it in politics all the time.
Okay.
Now, the young people you see doing the same thing, what is that? That's called conditioning. You've
Hmm.
been conditioned because you've been brought up by the same people who's doing the same thing. So
Can you
that's
give
been
me
a
can you give me an example of what you're talking about exactly? Or
think of a person like Stephen Miller, for instance.
do I have
He's
to?
a younger guy. Where does he get his thoughts from? His ideology from?
I
It's
don't know.
taught to him from an older generation.
What was that book that
Um,
he read about? I can't remember. Go ahead.
I can't remember the things that Matt Gates say. The things that Cruz say. Where is this stuff coming from? The stuff that you say. Donald Trump Jr. gets all his garbage from his dad.
Hmm.
Donald Trump Sr. got it from his dad.
We you
You
know
know what
we
I'm saying?
talk about
It's
we talk
moved
about
along the
conditioning. We talk
generations.
about conditioning
Yeah,
in thought, in our political thought, in whatever it is, um, religious thought, whatever it is.
yeah.
It really is kind of a powerful thing. Kind of a
Now
powerful
think
thing.
about this for a minute. There was this conversation that came up with Obama recently that he didn't do many things because he said that I can't. I gotta find the whole context of the conversation, but it was almost like he didn't want to hurt white people's feelings with some of the things he wanted to do policy wise
Really?
in regards to racism. And he just spoke recently. Now people
Well,
are throwing him under the bus for it,
I don't
but
recall that.
let me just see if I can find the article because I understand what he's saying. Because if you ask anybody in the black community, they'll tell you, yeah, he did tightrope it. He played it safe. He played it safe.
Yes, he did.
If
He
he
was
had,
very
if
safe.
he
He was
was
very
safe
safe.
because he was worried about what people were going to say. So, um,
Interesting. Interesting.
I mean, I get that. I understand it. But now you come out saying these things, and so some of the things that Biden may want to do, Barack probably couldn't even do it or say it because he would have got backlash back then.
Yep. Yep. That's true. That's true.
You
I think
know?
that some things evolve in our country,
Yeah,
and like when you first introduce an idea about whatever it is, electric cars, um, same-sex marriage, whatever the issue, pick an issue that
yeah,
15 years ago would have been considered exactly what you're saying, going too far. All right.
yeah,
Nowadays, it's not. And so Biden can get away with sort of stretching the envelope or pushing the envelope maybe a bit more than Obama could. Um,
yeah.
I, I get what you're saying. I think that I've seen quotes where he has hinted to that fact, or at least alluded to the fact that he felt like um, he couldn't be too left of center. He had to sort of appease people and make sure that his poll numbers were stayed above water.
I wish I could have seen him as president during the George Floyd protests.
Hmm. What do you think would have been different?
See, that's what I don't know. Would he have stepped
That's a
up?
good
He
question.
he would have said the right things versus how Trump said those things. But how would he have got involved in creating more of a peaceful situation to bring race relations to the forefront, police brutality to the forefront,
Hmm.
all
Hmm.
that stuff versus standing back and not being not allowing us to be transparent about what's going on. Would he have spoke lightly to not offend people, or would he have been bold and to the point to where you just put it out there? A lot of times when we are bold and to the forefront with it and put truth in people's face, this brings a reality. It's just right now with our culture, reality doesn't matter anymore. Truth doesn't matter
Reality.
anymore.
I think it still
Um,
matters to most people. I think that's a
only
lot of
reason.
To a lot of people, it doesn't, though.
Well, the reason why I say that, because you go back to January 6th, people are not accepting the reality of what actually happened because we're getting too many excuses to why it happened or who
Mm.
was involved.
Well,
When I say the
I think
reality,
most people do. I think 90% of the people do.
you think?
Yeah,
So why do you have so many supporters that don't speak bad about what happened? They give you excuses.
because they are truly 180% committed to the cause, to what they see as a movement, to what they see as um, their champion, which was Trump, which is still Trump.
Well, this is
It's still about him. It's still about
what this
marching behind those banners and that drum.
that's what I'm saying. It's a if you look at the speech he gave and those other speakers that spoke on that stage prior to what happened at the Capitol,
Mhm, mhm.
and you say those speeches did not influence those people. I'm
Oh,
not
they
talking
definitely do.
about the I'm not talking about the organized people. The organized people had a plan. I'm talking about
Mm.
the everyday American citizen who went to support Trump and went and got involved as much as the organizers did.
Mhm.
That
Here's a
person right there is not seeking the reality. They're not saying that speech influenced them to do it.
No. Of course, but of course they're not. They're going to try
That's what I'm saying then.
and make themselves look good and make themselves feel better about what happened. Here's the
So
thing.
so
So
wait,
this is
go back there. Go back there. That's what you just said. You just said they said these things to make themselves feel better.
Yeah.
That's telling me right there that they do not have a sense of reality.
Well, of
That is
course.
not, but what the reality is, you got hyped up by those speeches, and those organizers influenced you to go do something that you knew wasn't right.
Well, that goes for anyone who does something irrational or criminal. I mean, they're going to have some kind of excuse. They're going to justify it to themselves. They're going to justify it in court if they have to. They're going to try and make their conscience feel clean. I mean, it's like why did you decide to to run your neighbor over? Well, it's because, and then they'll have reasons to do it. I mean, it's completely irrational, but people are going to have that justification for their actions, of
But
course.
that goes back to what I just said about not being um, for the people not being looking at that what happened on the 6th as what really happened. You said 90% of the people do. I said no, they don't. Most 90% of the people do not look at it as that was an awful act. You just
Really?
said they did what they you just said they did what they
Well,
believed was right.
here's the
That's not
numbers. Here's the
reality.
numbers. Okay, I just saw this. I just read this as we started the show because we were talking about the Capitol attacks and a threat against the Capitol for the speech coming up for the State of the Union speech.
Right.
There were 800 protesters that broke into the Capitol. There were 1,200 police. There were 10,000 demonstrators that day at the Trump rally. So, just by the numbers. That's less than 10% of those people that were at the rally that actually breached the Capitol. The
Okay.
Capitol Police, despite the way it looks, were not outnumbered as contrary to public opinion, contrary to what we've seen on the videos. So that tells me that most of those people disagreed with breaking into the Capitol, carrying Confederate flags through it, hanging up a noose
Okay.
for Pence, breaking into Nancy Pelosi's office and doing all sorts of things, whatever they wanted to do. Most of those people weren't there to do that and disagree with that.
No,
Those are
no.
Trump supporters, okay?
I didn't
So that
say I
if you
didn't
took a poll of the entire country
right.
and said what happened on January 6th, was it right or wrong? Most people are going to say wrong. I would say up to 90%. I don't know what the poll numbers are. I know what the poll numbers are on a breakdown of party. Um, uh, they show that kind of stuff at the news. But if you just took a poll of people on the street, is it right or wrong? I would say that it would have been upwards of 80, 90% of people out there said that was wrong.
We're not saying if you say something was wrong or not. I said the influence of going down there. Their reality is saying that they were not influenced by Donald Trump or those
Sure they
speakers on
were.
that stage to go
Sure
down
they
there.
Of course they
That's what
were.
I'm saying. That's the false reality.
Okay.
That's what you don't hear. You
Well,
don't hear the only ones who say that. The only ones you hear saying that are the ones who got caught.
of
They're
course.
the only ones who say, "Oh, I was following the orders of my president."
This
They're tossing
going
blame.
going back to our point of like, what would Obama do during these things during the George Floyd,
Yeah,
um, and Black Lives Matter? Words matter.
yeah,
Words mattered on January 6th, and not just from Donald Trump Jr. Or Donald Trump. I'm sorry, Donald. Everyone that was there, those words for all those people that were on stage, and what Obama would have done is to bring the rhetoric down. Rhetoric matters. What you say matters. What you say at a press conference
true.
matters. What you say when you get asked by a reporter as you're leaving the White House, getting on the helicopter, matters to people. So when you're
Yeah,
Trump always made it worse.
right. Yeah,
98%,
definitely.
98% of the time he would make it worse. If something happened, you name it, Charlottesville, the George Floyd protest, whatever it was, Trump always made it worse because he always took the side of being
Right,
sensational and being and trying to get headlines and keeping himself in the news because he's obsessed with self. He's obsessed with the attention he gets. He
right,
was obsessed with news ratings and how often he would be mentioned by news agencies. So he would say stuff that would always make it worse.
I
And this
agree.
is
I
what
agree.
that
Yeah,
shows that's poor leadership. Leadership would be getting up there and saying what you should say, and getting up there and saying what most people, most rational people would say. It's not rocket science. It's not
right,
rocket science. It's about trying to make friends and influence people to do good, to do the right thing, to be rational, to be peaceful. That's what leaders do, and that's what Biden does. That's what Obama did. Okay, when
right,
there was a shooting, a school shooting, he didn't start tweeting about how Second Amendment gun rights and they're coming for your guns or this and that. No, he would show up at these people's um, memorial events, and he would give a heart. Um, he would he would give an empathetic speech that would communicate the nation's sorrow for having more kids killed by guns,
yeah,
and
yeah,
um, that helps. That's helpful. It might be boring to people, but that's what leaders do. That's what
right,
governing is. Okay.
right. I agree. No, I told it. I'm not disagreeing with you. I
So
don't think it
it would
would
have
have.
been a different world. You would have not had a movement of people who start to believe lies. You would have not had any kind of a packaged, idealized sort of banner, call it be it QAnon or be it the Trump train. That was a thing. People said that, the Trump train, okay? Because
Right,
when if you were a follower of Trump, there was a whole list of things that you
yeah,
usually believed in. You usually believed that people were overhyping the pandemic. He usually
right,
believed that that all lives matter. Okay,
right,
there was a list of things that you sort of subscribed to because it became a package deal because of the things that were said in the public forum, not just by Trump, but by people around Trump and people who supported Trump, by people in Fox News. Okay, so you wouldn't have had a group of 10,000 people that gathered on the Capitol lawn about anything at all because you
yeah.
didn't have this sort of um, fan base following that Trump
But
had.
well, the thing about it though, those people were already established. A lot of these groups were already established. They were just in hiding. They just needed somebody like Trump to bring them out of the woodwork.
They all got there under the same banner.
But
All
you,
these
like a
different
lot of
groups,
these,
all these different groups that you're talking about all showed up under the Trump 2020 banner.
yeah, and a lot of these groups, excuse me, a
I'm
lot of
just
these
being
groups,
real. I mean, if that
yeah, but
I'm
how many of
sorry
these
if that
people came
offends
out?
anyone out there, but I think
No,
it's true.
but how many of these groups got established after Obama became came in office though?
Uh,
A lot
quite a
of them.
bit, quite a bit. But they
Yeah,
weren't unified. They weren't together. You didn't see Proud Boys out there with QAnon. There wouldn't have been anything like
no,
QAnon now
no.
because
Oh,
every day you have somebody out there spouting lies, telling lies, spinning a false narrative, and this is how these things got started. You would have never had a
yeah,
QAnon during Obama. You would have had conspiracy theories about this and that, but
Yeah.
you wouldn't have had it as some kind of a movement.
Yeah. Did you see the interview with Torio, whatever his name is, from the Proud Boys? He had an
No, I
interview.
mean not recently. No,
Yeah, it was like the other day. The other
I've
day.
heard interviews from him before, and I try to
No,
not
it was
pay
just
attention to
it was
him.
the other day about him being an informant,
Hmm.
and he only claimed one case that he was an informant on, but the records show he was an informant for other
An
cases.
FBI informant.
Yeah, and
Okay.
it showed that the one that he admits to is the child sex trafficking, uh, being an informant for that.
Oh, okay. Okay.
That was the only one he admitted to because it goes with the rhetoric or which I'm not saying child sex trafficking isn't out there. We know it's out there. What I'm saying is that was the one that's aligns with the party that supports him. But no, he went on. He was also he had questions. I guess he had to answer questions to the grand jury about some things that were going on recently, and because no, he wasn't there the day on the 6th of that riot, but he had got arrested like 2 or 3 days prior for
Okay.
burning a Black Lives Matter sign, and so he wasn't there. But
Mhm.
what I don't understand is how are these people getting these platforms? A lot of times, these platforms are established for these people to speak way after what's going on is over with. He's currently speaking about this stuff. And why are we keep giving him this platform? Him and whoever else is talking this craziness. Why are we giving these people the platform to speak?
Because
Like,
we have this huge void to fill that used to be filled with whatever Trump tweeted that's no longer there before. So we're still
no,
going to talk about
go back, go
all
back.
this.
Before that, without all that being said, I mean, we're talking about without the Trump tweets. We're talking about giving people a platform to speak
On what? What are we
that
talking about?
has the opportunity of influence.
Okay.
He gets an opportunity to speak on what he believes in and what his group stands for.
Hmm.
Like he
Hmm.
even supported some of the people that have already been in trouble. He won't even really acknowledge what he did acknowledge the riot, the exurgent on the Capitol was wrong.
Okay.
He admits that. Torrio admits that. He said they went about it the wrong way. That was wrong. But
I
what do you
think
expect him to say in a live interview? You know what I'm saying?
I think he's going to still continue to get some attention. I think as time goes on, I think it'll die down. The reason why is because back in the fall, they were mentioned by name at a presidential debate, and then people, well, who are these people? Who are these guys? They had been around for a while. We
Yeah,
had seen them before. We'd heard about them before, but now it's become sort of in the mainstream. And of course, then January 6th happened, and you had some Proud Boy activity there. So they're going to be asked these questions
yeah,
because this is what's on people's minds. We have
yeah,
we have news agencies who are ratings based. So
yeah,
the reason why they're interviewing him is because people are interested in it, plain and simple. I mean, they don't
yeah,
want to. They're not going to want to talk about the boring stuff. They're going to want to talk about the things that are sensational. They're going to want to talk about the things that things that are perceived as dangerous, like right-wing extremism,
right.
or they're going to continue to talk about it until it's no longer on people's minds, until people are no longer watching, and then they're going to find something else to talk about in CNN. They're
Okay,
gonna continue to whip a horse until it's dead, and then move on to the next one.
okay. Let's move on. What's next, man?
So Tiger Woods. Sorry about that. I
Yeah.
mean,
No, no, it's good. No, it's a good conversation. It's just that
Tiger Woods
after a
this
while,
week.
it exhausts me. It exhausts me, man.
No, it.
No, just for 1 second. Let's just stick there for 1 second. Remember we talked about COVID exhaustion?
Hmm. Hmm.
That's what's being happening now. I mean, we talk about it because it's relevant.
It happens to us. We like to, we like to talk about the same things because
It's
they
exhausting.
keep
Yeah,
coming
it's
up. Yeah.
exhausting. So Tiger Woods, man, took a hit
Tiger
this
Woods.
week. Whew, excuse me.
Tiger Woods had
He
a
took a
bad
hit.
accident. I'm sure that everyone out there has seen and heard about this, has seen the pictures of his car rolled over from a highway in Southern California, which it, here's my question. It didn't look quite like a freeway. It looked like some sort of expressway, like a divided
Yeah,
highway. I guess
yeah,
the angles that I've seen on the news that say that it's a kind of a steep downgrade. So it talked about maybe
Mm.
it's a sort of dangerous stretch of road, and that it's kind of under mysterious circumstances as to why he was driving at a high rate of speed. Was he at fault? Was he at risk? Was he distressed in some way? Was it somehow about influence? Was he under the influence of anything? Nothing's been said about that. Not to make any accusations. However, um, he had been that has happened before in his past. So, um, just as Tiger Woods was kind of getting things together again, he won the Masters 2 years ago in 2019. That was a big deal. That was a big thing, and he's had so many setbacks over the last several years physically and athletically because of his back. Now he's broken both of his legs. Both of his legs. It's going to be extremely difficult for an athlete like him to be able to swing the golf club at a high level each and every weekend, whatever 30, 40 weekends a year in 30, 40 tournaments a year. So I don't know, if he's able to come back from this, it would be one of the biggest comebacks in sports history, I think.
Yeah. Well, the thing about it is that, well, a couple of things. There were no drugs or any type of influence, any type of illegal influence
So
in
we
this
know that
system.
for sure, right?
Yeah, the police
Okay.
searched the car out the first day. I mean, the
Okay.
day of the accident. Um, Coming back from his injury is going to be tough, especially at his age. But this is some of the injuries that he's suffered from. This is from Tiger Woods' official Twitter account, provided the golf star's early status Wednesday, saying he had a long surgical procedure
Hmm.
and suffered significant orthopedic injuries to his lower and right extremities. Per the release, Woods has uh, comminuted open had comminuted open fractures to both his upper and lower portion of his fibula and his tibia. They were stabilized with a rod inserted into the tibia. Other injuries to his foot and ankle were stabilized
Sounds
with
bad.
screws and pins. Doctors also were forcefully pressure to his muscles and soft tissue. So that's from his official Twitter page. Um, so basically, he shattered both of his ankles basically in two leg fractures.
Okay.
Um, it's sad because this is not Tiger Woods' um, first
Car accident?
accident.
Yeah.
But then this also speaks about what caused the crash. This is according to one of the officials at the site, said the vehicle was traveling at a relatively greater speed than normal
Hmm.
northbound on
Hmm.
North Hawthorne Boulevard. So it wasn't a freeway; it was more so of a two-lane road,
Kind
I
of,
think
yeah,
maybe.
expressway kind of thing.
Yeah, the section of the road where he crashed, which is notably steep and curvy, has a speed limit of 45. And remember, when they said he crashed, there was no skid mark, so it wasn't like he braked.
Yep. Yep.
So did he fall asleep at the wheel? I'm not sure. But it appeared he made contact with a dividing median, destroying a wooden sign that reads "Welcome to Rolling Hill Estates." He
Hmm.
then crossed two southbound lanes, at which point it hit the curb and trees, narrowly missing a telephone pole, before rolling several times up an embankment. The car came to a rest on the side, roughly 30 yards off the side of the road. There were
Yeah.
no skid marks or signs of braking from the site of the crash. So, with that being said, um, you know how fast you got to be going to roll up an embankment?
Pretty fast.
He
50
flipped
miles an
up
hour
an
at least.
embankment.
Yeah, flipping.
Yeah, man. He flipped up the embankment, if not faster, man, because the speed limit was 45.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
then, and I don't want to make a crack though. I'm about to say maybe because he was driving a Hyundai, he couldn't handle the curves, but I don't want to say. I'm not laughing at the accident, but maybe the Hyundai couldn't handle didn't have good handling on those
Didn't have
California
good.
curves, man.
I'm glad he's okay. I'm glad that
Yeah,
there was no impairment, any anything in the system that would have caused this,
yeah,
because that would have added a layer of complexity to this. He's
yeah,
been moved to another hospital apparently for
yeah.
follow-up, and so um, are we going to see him back this year? Do you think?
I would. I don't know. It depends on what his mental capabilities are right now. Where is he at mentally? Um, I know he wants to come back as an athlete because he's a competitor,
Hmm.
but we gotta, you need to find out what was his mental state at the cause of his accident. Because I know that he rushed out of the parking lot in an angry rage, or it seemed like he was in a rage, because the way he came out of the parking lot, he almost hit the director of the project they were working on,
Okay.
and he almost hit the director. So the director came back telling about how Tiger came up out of the parking lot so fast and almost hit him. So what was going on? What was happening there? We
Yeah,
still
what was
haven't
going
found
on
out.
mentally? Yeah.
Yeah, was he angry about something? Was he upset about something? Sometimes your judgment is taken off by, you know, your emotional problems at that time.
Hmm.
Was he, like I said, angry? Was he upset? Was he annoyed? What caused him to rage, to come out of a rage with his car like that?
Hmm.
And then you see this accident happen, not too long afterwards.
Yep.
I
Yep.
am concerned. I'm concerned for Tiger Woods. Um, he he's continuing to see him win the Masters recently. You thought he was on his uprise.
Yeah.
This brings more questions into his stability, basically,
Hmm.
in my opinion. In my
Yeah.
opinion, So,
He's he's one of the more interesting sports figures um, ever.
yeah,
He was a child prodigy. Um, he had a meteoric rise in the sport, and he kind of took over the sport. He
yeah,
was winning so often that at one point, if you would go into a golf tournament to bet the field or bet Tiger Woods, you're going to bet Tiger Woods. Okay, he was that
yeah,
dominant.
yeah,
Maybe the most dominant in history of the sport. Then he had the personal issues about 10 years ago or so, and the divorce with his wife, and that set him back. Then he's
yeah,
had the physical issues with his back. People
yeah,
used to think that he was a foregone conclusion that he would pass Jack Nicklaus. That's probably in doubt now. Um,
yeah,
Probably, I would say the betting odds are not. Golf is something that you can play into a relatively advanced age. He's 45. Um,
yeah,
so, he could win some more majors, some more tournaments. But I think if he did, it would remain as one of the biggest comebacks. And he kind of had the positive appeal and then a negative appeal for a while. And
right,
then now people I thought, were kind of rooting for him, kind of glad to see him do well, to kind of come back. He had that tournament with his
yeah,
son, and everyone kind of thought that was cute and good. So, it's been a roller coaster ride.
yeah. It has been, man. He's had a interesting career, man. The good, the bad, and the ugly.
Yep.
But it's something. So,
We
but
want to
yeah, what we
talk a
got?
little
What's
bit
going on with
about
Disney?
we want to talk about First Amendment. We want to talk a little bit about so-called cancer culture, people
Yeah.
getting canceled or getting banned off of social media or getting fired from jobs
Mhm.
because of what they say on social media or because of their views or because of their political views. In this case, we have uh, an actress who was on a hot show this past year, Mandalorian, Gina Carino, who
Mhm.
had said a couple things on Twitter, and she was let go about it. We have a short video that kind of gives a good summary of this story. So here we go.
Mhm.
Actor Gina Carano was fired from her role in the breakout Star Wars series The Mandalorian over a string of controversial social media posts. A spokesperson for Walt Disney's Lucasfilm movie studio called her comments, quote, abhorrent and unacceptable. Carano's comments posted on Instagram included comparing the politically divisive climate in the U.S. to Nazi Germany. The posts have been taken down, but not before setting off a firestorm on Twitter, where the hashtag #FireGinaCarano started trending. In other posts in the past, Carano has mocked mask wearing and claimed that voter fraud may have impacted the 2020 election. The former mixed martial arts competitor transitioned to acting. She played the ex-soldier and gunslinger Cara Dune in The Mandalorian. She nor her representatives could be immediately reached for comment. Carano has also been reportedly dropped by the United Talent Agency as a result of her offensive social media posts.
So, is this a violation of First Amendment rights? Should she be outraged? Should people who support her be outraged because they're being so-called canceled? They're being fired from jobs. They're being banned from social media outlets because of controversial tweets or whatever.
Yeah,
Tweets, Instagram, wherever they are.
I'm looking for exactly what she said again. It went by so fast. I want to find exactly
I
what she
have I
said.
have it listed here, so let's talk about that specifically. The one about
Yeah,
Nazi Germany was because history is edited, most people today don't realize that to get to the point where Nazi soldiers could easily round up thousands of Jews, the government first made their own neighbors hate them for simply being Jews. That was deleted. She also tweeted about Jeffrey Epstein, that he didn't kill himself, so a little conspiracy theory there.
do you
She
believe he? Do you
also,
believe he killed himself?
um, I think so. I mean, I don't think that it's outside of the realm of possibility that he did not. She has also sort of made fun of people's pronouns um, on social media. Let's see, in my experience, screaming at somebody that they are racist when they are indeed not a racist in any post and or research you do will show these exact facts, then I'm sorry, these people are not educators. Um, Speaking in response to a Black Lives Matter protest. Um, so she made fun of mask wearers a little bit. Um,
Yeah,
so, it goes on and on a little bit. She talked about election fraud. Um, so I mean, there's things that I don't agree with, but there's something that it wasn't all that bad, to be honest.
right.
However, she is a public figure. She is a high-profile person, and she works for Disney. Okay,
Yeah,
so that I think makes a big difference. Okay, if you're an actor and actress on TV, what you say and do is going to be scrutinized, is going to get more attention, and that's going to get attention to the organization you work for or to the company that you work for. And so you should expect that if you do say controversial things
here it is.
online, that you should be scrutinized for it, and your employer is going to come to you and say, "Look, cut it out."
They won't let me get the whole thing in there. They won't let me post. I gotta post a sentence by sentence, but I found the tweet.
Hello,
I mean,
John.
you think about this. Hey, John, and where she says we need to clean up the election process so we're
Yep.
not left feeling that the way we do today about politics.
Mm-hmm.
And I agree with that text, that quote. We do need to clean it up. Put laws in place that protect us against voter fraud. Okay, is there voter fraud? Right now, we have proof that there's been no fraud in this past election.
Right.
But the fact is, there are times that fraud happens. This is not to the capacity where it's going to change a vote. Every year, there is mistaken identity. People fake identity of
There's
people
always
to
a few
vote.
cases, yeah. Mm-hmm.
So, yes, put in place a system to stop that. You know what I'm saying?
I mean,
Put
it
in,
sounds good. Sounds good, sure.
yeah, but what I'm saying is that what she's saying does not. She didn't blame it. She didn't say the election was stolen. She said put laws in place to protect us against
Mm-hmm.
voter fraud.
Yeah. So
Yeah, do
are
that.
these is anything that she said that bad? Was anything that she said that bad?
Bro, investigate every state. You can investigate every state. That can happen, but we've been through the confirmation hearings from different states for
Mm-hmm.
this past election. But
So,
what she's the film the county. You can't necessarily do that, but yeah, if you want to film the county, you could do that. Flush out the fake votes. Yes, flush out the fake votes. Require ID.
those things are done though. Fake votes
These
are flushed
things,
out. Fake votes are
no,
thrown
no,
away.
no. What I'm saying is she said, fix the system. Okay, all the things she's saying are great points,
We could go down the list of the points that she's making, but the
but it's
point
not
is like,
worth.
well,
But it's not canceling. Why cancel her for these statements?
I don't know. To me, those things weren't that bad off. However, if you work for a company like Disney, you're going to be scrutinized, and you're going to, um, the company is within their rights to get rid of the people that say things like this. Now, here's a question for you though, because this started up on Facebook back in the fall, and on Twitter. They started actually banning people's posts, or they actually like blocked people's posts because they were so-called putting misinformation, like about the
Right.
election, about voter
Okay.
fraud, and this and that.
Yep.
Do you agree with that? I mean, even if it's shown to be false. Okay, like if you
Well,
post up a story that talks about voter fraud, or that talks about fake votes, is that promoting a theory that's a lie?
well, um,
Is that
people
dangerous?
argue
And is that
it's
worthy to
dangerous.
be blocked?
It's dangerous. But what I don't think that you should block. If a person continues to do it, you should continue to correct the statement. Like myself, if I this is what makes me research things more now. I remember I made a statement. It was during Hillary, um, the Trump Hillary election, general election, and I posted something that I saw online. When I posted, I can't remember exactly what the context was, but I know that I didn't research it. I grabbed a meme or article, I threw it up online, and a very good friend of mine uh, inboxed me. But first, she posted and said, "This is not true. Do your research." Then she inboxed me because she knew we were friends,
Okay.
and she kind of got on my case a little bit
Hmm.
about throwing content up there
Okay.
that's fake, especially when I have
Okay.
people who respect me and follow me. I have a lot of people that follow what I say
Okay.
or follow the shows I'm on or whatever. So she gave me the fact that I have a responsibility now. I have a responsibility as long as you're influencing people, whether and at that time I was teaching also, teaching high school students.
Okay.
So if you are an influence
So
over people,
you are somebody who had a responsibility to other people, and therefore
exactly.
it was okay for somebody to call you out on posting up a story that turned out to be false.
Right. So when she
Okay.
did that for me, now she did that to me because of my position of what I do with, in society.
Okay.
So then it became a point where I start studying more and make sure that I post factual things. But what
Okay.
happens even today, I may post something too quickly before all the evidence has been revealed.
Right.
So
Okay.
a person again will come to me and say, you that's not true. This is what happened. I now I'll stand on my own mistakes. I'll stand up and be like, you know what? I made a mistake there. I apologize. Thanks for giving me more insight.
Okay. Okay.
I acknowledge the truth. Whether it's something I support or not, I accept the truth. That's why, when you see people post all the time, I'll go in and correct them. I'll get on, no, brother, that ain't right. This is what really happened. These are the facts, and I bring documentation behind it.
Okay.
When people that you see during the 2020 and that were getting canceled by Facebook and Instagram and YouTube, they were purposely posting things a lot of times
Yep.
because they knew that the threat of being canceled was out there. There's time
Really?
if you know think about this for a minute,
Explain what
Dan.
you mean by that. So
If
so
you've been
tell
if
me if
you
this is right. So that you're saying that people knew that they were about to be canceled, and so they would post up things that were controversial just because they didn't know if they'd be able to do that in the future. Is that what you're saying?
that's possibility one. Possibility number two is they're doing this to continue to cause that divide. They're purposely doing it, knowing it's fake. Because
So they're
if you've been
purposely
there's
trying to
people
cause division. Interesting.
cause division, but I
Okay.
also know people. I know people for a fact who've had their post blocked several times. Okay, their post was blocked. So if your post is blocked several times, that means you should look the next time to see if what you're posting is factual.
Well, here's the
But the
thing, because
problem is they believe so deeply in what was blocked.
right, right.
So now it's like whatever the truth is now is not relevant to them. That's what I said earlier in the program. I said people do not have a false sense of their reality.
Okay.
Some things just aren't true.
but do people
They're
have the
not.
right to believe in untruths and to share those things, to share their opinions, to share stories from a fringe media source? For example, um, do they have a right to do that without being blocked? We've all seen those things where people get mad. I know a lot of people that are mad about this, that are seriously think it's harassment and bullying by like
Yeah,
mainstream media because their points of view aren't heard. Now they might sound like entitled children. They might have legitimate points in some
right.
cases. Um, but there's a lot of people that are seriously mad about this, and they point to cases like this, to what we're talking about with this actress, as case in point. So we see these little things on Facebook, and you say, "I tried to post this, and it was blocked, and
Yeah,
I'm mad about it." You've seen those before, and
yeah.
do they do outlets, social media outlets, have the right to block you, to block things that
They're
have been
private.
proven false?
They're privately owned companies. They can do what they want to do.
Okay,
But the people
okay.
that are upset, the people that are upset about what's being blocked, don't realize that that's how history has been misrepresented or misinterpreted over the centuries,
Mhm, mhm.
because of the fact that people were allowed to send out false information to make people believe it,
Well, here's the
it
thing.
or hide the truth. That's been done for forever. So right now is a era. You're at a point now in our times where you can't keep putting out false information, because over a time, if it's continually put out, it becomes the truth. People start to
Here's
believe it.
Here's another point, though. But where do we draw the line as to what we allow people to say that is untrue? Because we see stuff on social media and Facebook that is untrue. We see people post about flat Earth. We see people post that climate change isn't real. We see people post all kinds of things that are probably really untrue. We see people post
Yeah,
conspiracy theories about Jeffrey Epstein or
yeah,
whoever else you want to.
yeah.
So we're making a distinction where we are banning certain things like the spread of um, false information about election fraud, for example. That's going to get blocked, but other things that are also false of a different topic are not getting blocked. And
This
are
was
we are
high.
we are
This
we are we making the judgment that those things aren't as dangerous somehow?
hot topics. Flat Earth is not dangerous. Election fraud became dangerous because you saw
You
what
can.
happened at the Capitol.
It
You
became
saw what happened
dangerous.
at the.
Don't you think
You
that
saw what
false?
happened though.
But don't you think that false information about climate change can be damaging?
No, I'd say a flat Earth. To say the Earth is flat is not going to be any danger to that. Climate change can be dangerous because now you're dealing with money. People have money involved in going
Okay,
against climate change.
okay,
It's,
okay.
I mean, those things. When you have money and power behind your narrative, it becomes dangerous, because now you have the money to influence people with your thought, whether it's positive or negative. You
Okay.
have the influence to saying the Earth is flat. There's no money behind that. It's just a thought. There's no
It's
money
just
behind it.
okay.
Now, if you was going to make a vehicle that's going to drive to the end of the earth and fall off, and you were able to get people behind the thought that you can drive to the end of the earth and fall off, then it could probably be dangerous because you have money to boost towards your advertisement
Okay.
and your
Okay.
henchmen to kill people off that's going against you. But when you're looking at voter fraud, that's a power thing. Because, like I said, we saw it on the 6th. When you talk about diversity and inclusion, what we're going to speak about a little later with Coca-Cola, that's money and power issues right there.
Okay.
But
Okay.
getting back to truth, when you put on a social media article, put up an article on social media, and it's false, and you get blocked because you continue to repeatedly put up false information, that's a character issue, and it's an issue of responsibility, because you could continue to have the potential to influence people with what you're believing, and it's not true.
Okay.
That's not safe. That's you're causing more corruption in people's minds. Now, for that person who believes it, they truly believe it, so they keep posting it. They need to start doing more research.
Okay.
Should Facebook block you? I don't think anyone should be blocked on Facebook. I don't think anyone should be blocked on any of these social media sites. It is what it is. It's social media. You can look on YouTube. You can find so many stories. I'm a Christian, right? I can find so many stories that Jesus is not real if you want to look it up. You know what I'm saying? You can find anything you want to find to debate about on social media. But the thing about it is, what is causing dangerous situations in our society? Those are the things that people are trying to block.
Okay, so those are the things that we should block because
I didn't say they should be blocked. I said they're being blocked. They're being blocked because it becomes dangerous.
Well, if you don't block it, then you run the risk that more people are going to believe in it. More people are going to gather the next time that they have a white power rally or something.
Just put up corrections. Facebook put up the correction.
Okay.
If someone says something fake, Facebook don't put a shadow over their comment. Put your post in to correct the conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Be responsible. Correct the conversation, regardless of what it is.
Okay.
And when they say this, when people say that the election was stolen, put up all the facts of why it hasn't been stolen. Don't just say that person put up fake information. Correct it. Spend the time and put the correction up so we can be informed.
How do you feel about Amazon taking away the hosting for Parler?
I think that's another one. That's again, you cause a group of people to be banned, basically, because of their beliefs.
But are they banned for real? It's just that one company that's saying, we don't want to be a part of this.
Well, the problem is what we mentioned earlier about how dangerous things are getting.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Amazon is a privately owned company. They felt that their association with Parler can be a bad influence on them. Remember, they banned Parler before January 6th, right? It's
a marketing thing.
No, they banned Parler before January 6th.
Before that.
What if Parler was still on board, was on Amazon's platform during the 6th? That was the nesting place for a lot of this talk.
Yep.
Just like 4chan and all these other encrypted sites, Telegram, Signal. There's a bunch of these sites that are encrypted, that people were going to have these conversations.
Okay.
Then you filter into the dark web. So it's like, where the responsibility is going to be? There's money involved. Every time when you have a question, if something is right or wrong, and you continue to see the wrong happening, there's money somewhere being played in it. If there wasn't no money involved in it, it wouldn't last as long.
Okay.
It wouldn't matter. It wouldn't matter.
But they're not really, in a sense, being banned. They're just a private company saying, we don't want to be a part of this. It's like
I don't blame
it's like a network saying, we don't want to advertise this product anymore. So they can always go. This is my point. They can always go and find someone else to host them. And if no one wants to do that, isn't that the private marketplace working? Isn't that what we have? A capitalistic society. Part of why we have a capitalistic society, that if people are offended by something, then private companies, have the right to just say to walk away from that.
Well, you look at Disney. You mentioned Disney and cancel culture. Disney canceled someone that they thought violated certain principles of theirs.
Mm-hmm.
Disney is also a company, if you notice, had to remove a lot of their content in the past year. Disney removed several cartoon contents off of their Disney Channel because it now believes things were violated, because of the conditioning of, the way people are over the years. So,
okay.
You know what I'm saying? So that was a company that took somebody off their network or took somebody away because they had to do it to themselves as well. And I'm not a big Disney supporter. There's a lot of things about Disney I do not support. So it's like over the years, just from cartoons or whatever. So I've always had a red flag next to Disney. Some of the content that was swept in, call it conspiracy theory, whatever, but some of the things that was seeping to their things there, their cartoons, and that can influence people, the subliminal messages, that's there. You can see it. So
Okay.
you look at, any cartoon company or animated company that's for children, that's been over the years, like that started off in the 60s, moving forward, you're going to have questionable content there. But as you asked, do they have the right to do it? Private companies can do what they want.
Yep. Well, we move from one controversy to another. The national anthem. The national
Okay.
anthem. So it's been a tradition in this country that started long ago, to have the national anthem at sporting events, be it professional
Right.
sporting events to high school sporting events to everything in between. And Colin Kaepernick came along. And then we had a different way of acknowledging the national anthem. So this is something that has made the news recently, here and there. The Dallas Mavericks, close to where you live, and
Yeah.
I know you know this story, that they started quietly not using the national anthem before all of their home games. And so
Right. Right.
when when he was questioned about this, speaking of their owner, um, he then said that we don't have any plans to use it. Sort of
Right.
like a nebulous comment, so a very sort of non-committal sort of comment. Then the NBA stepped in and said, "You will do it." Okay.
Yeah.
And then since that time, they have said that they will play the national anthem. Now,
Yeah.
just this past week, it has come in the state of Tennessee, in the Tennessee state politics about certain universities. The University of Tennessee women's basketball team, Eastern Tennessee University men's basketball team, among others, have knelt for the national anthem, and they're trying to force, uh, I don't know if force is the right word, put through a law that would require universities and state universities in particular to stand for the national anthem and show respect for the national anthem,
Right.
citing the fact that as somebody in that uniform, a University of Tennessee student athlete, somebody in a state university uniform is representative of the state. So we have a short
Right.
video to show you, and I want your opinion on this, Mars, and other people out
Okay.
there, by the way. So
More than a week after ETSU basketball players kneeled during the national anthem, today it became a topic of conversation during the Tennessee General Assembly. Good evening, I'm Josh Smith.
I'm Sarah Diamond. The Bucks' decision to take a knee came up during the Joint Committee on Government Operations, which met at the Capitol in Nashville earlier today.
State Senator Rusty Crowe of Johnson City, who last week spoke out against the players' protest, asked for legal advice during the meeting on whether students in a school uniform have the same free speech protections.
I think most of us, are thinking that when you're in that uniform and you're acting as an ambassador for the university and the state, there possibly is a line there that differentiates, that freedom of speech.
But another state lawmaker at the meeting today pushed back, saying attempts to silence a peaceful demonstration would be wrong.
So we can't protest peacefully. We don't protest violently. But you want to just hammer us down, or the students down, on every turn. So I would just ask you to proceed cautiously on how you address this.
That interchange came up during a review of government operations rules as they pertain to Title IX laws, which are meant to protect people from sex-based discrimination.
okay,
Yeah.
what do you think? What do you think of that?
Well, first you gotta look at the optics. I saw some things that stood out in my opinion. The team that knelt, what did they look like?
They look like basketball players.
No. Who did they look like? What did they look like?
They're mostly African American.
Okay. They knelt because they have a they have a perception of the national anthem that's been passed down through generations.
Okay.
They apparently they stand by why the protest even started. They believe in why Kaepernick started kneeling.
Yeah.
So
okay.
that's one thing. Look at the
But that's
demographic.
you're presuming that though. You're presuming. That.
Let's look at the demographics of the people that knelt. That's
Okay.
one thing.
Okay.
Look at the demographic of the person who opposed it in the Senate.
Of course.
Or Congress, Ron Johnson. Okay. Then look at the person who stood by the protesters.
Mm-hmm.
He said it could be dangerous limiting how you protest.
Yeah.
He was a black guy. So when you look at all those factors in place, and it would have been different if it was a mixed team and there was questions on the team of who knelt. It's basically that whole team knelt.
Yep.
There should be no question about what's right or what's wrong. That's what that team did as a team and decided to do. Stand behind them. They're a team. They win together, they lose together, they bond together over issues. When there's discrepancy within the team, then you have a conversation of what's best for the team.
Okay.
Right now, they all stood together. For Ron Johnson to come into play and say, well, because they're representing the school colors and this and that and other, should they protest? Dude, that's the problem. You're looking at because they represent a certain company who's making money off of those same people, and you're saying they don't have a voice. That goes back to corporate America, sports teams. I mean, everything. It all comes down to money. And that's what that's about. He doesn't want that school to be affected negatively from a financial standpoint. He's in that state. It's a concern for him. But no, I mean, I think that's garbage. That's the problem that we have in our country, is the fact that because you feel that it makes you look bad when something is going wrong and you don't want to speak out against it or you don't want to speak out in support. That's the problem. Being quiet, silence. You rather for them, like people keep saying about Colin Kaepernick. Well, he should have done it a different way. A different way wouldn't have gotten the attention that it
That's
deserved.
exactly what that younger congressperson said. Congressman said. So what do you think about what he said? He said we can't protest. We don't protest violently. You're telling us we can't protest peacefully. Okay.
Yeah, it's control.
We've heard that before. So do you think that person who spoke out against them kneeling actually watches their games?
Ron Johnson. He probably maybe
Does
he
he
does.
actually
I
watch
don't know.
those games?
I don't know. He's a politician in that state. I'm not saying he doesn't, or I'm not sure. So I don't know. The whole thing. My only issue.
I'm not sure that he does, to be honest. I mean, I don't think he strikes me as a person that's going to watch the University of Tennessee women's basketball team unless they're in the tournament. Maybe he does. Maybe he does.
I don't
See,
know.
this is the thing. It's like all these people that had a problem a couple of years ago with the NFL and NFL players kneeling. Some of those people were NFL fans, and they said to me, I am not going to watch them anymore because of this. I said, really?
Right.
Okay. Well, I mean, that's your right. But sometimes it's the people who don't watch the games that have a problem with it. And so to my mind, I'm just like, well, do you really watch a lot of NBA? So and if you don't, what's your problem with them highlighting George Floyd and police brutality? Go ahead. Sorry,
it's an issue. No, it's cool. But I was looking at some stuff about, it was talking about Mark Cuban with his decision not to play the national anthem, but of course he was forced to play it.
Yeah.
What
do you think about that? What do you think about him?
The song is well, I'm gonna read about the history of a little bit about the national anthem, which I didn't know.
Yep.
The song is about the Battle of the War of 1812, which I did know. But the first documented time that it was played at an American sporting event came at a baseball game in 1862 during the Civil War. The tradition of playing it at sport events got a traumatic boost at the 1918 World Series during World War I, and the tradition of playing it before games was popularized during World War II. Okay. When that song was played during the war, this is the problem that we have. See, you have to look at who was represented when that song was being played. And then you listen to the words of the song. Who does it not represent? Who was not held, who was not being thought about during the time of that song? So you look at all that. Then you look at who were the players in the World Series at that time. Who were the fans of the World Series at that time? Most likely they would approve of the national anthem, all three verses.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Because it's obvious why they only sing the first verse, number one.
Yep.
We know why. So all that plays into a factor of what's happening today. If you don't acknowledge, when you don't acknowledge, like I said, this is some truth here. If you don't acknowledge that then, and you don't acknowledge that now, you're going to continue to have this controversy when people, hey,
He didn't throw up.
come here, coughing up his food. Then he ate it back. I'm like, dude, what the heck? I just heard this hack. I'm like, what the heck?
Great.
So anyway, when you get people who tend to go against the grain of things, that's considered American traditions. You have to look at why are the people pushing back, and why is it considered a tradition?
Do you think this is forced patriotism? Like if you go to a game, there's gonna be an announcement that says, please stand and show your respect for the flag. And there's this quiet moment where we have somebody for 3 minutes singing the song, and the flag is displayed. People put their hands over their hearts. Is it wrong to do that, like in a school setting for like kids, like elementary school? Like now we're going to, at the beginning of our day, we're going to stand, put our hands over the heart in the classroom and say the Pledge of Allegiance. Is forced patriotism wrong? Is it dangerous? Is it dangerous?
It's not wrong. It's not wrong to influence that. But the thing about it is that as we learn more, as we educate ourselves more, there's a different meaning to it. Like, I could ask you, why do you stand for the national anthem? And I'm sure we probably have two different answers to that. Why do you stand?
You want me to answer? Oh, okay.
Yeah. Why did? No, growing up throughout, from elementary school, singing the Pledge of Allegiance all the way through, national anthem. Why did you stand?
The reason why I used to do it is because everyone else was doing it. The reason why I do it now is to show respect for the people who have served our country.
Okay.
And
I still do it because what you said the first time.
Because that's what you did. That's just what you do.
Everyone else is doing it. I knew what it stand for. I knew what it stood for. I knew what it stood for, but it didn't hold the same weight in my heart as maybe the person next to me. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Well,
my dad served. I mean, he was in the military. I have family members that served, that fought in wars and everything. And the difference is that I go by their perception of the military when they served. You know what I'm saying? And that makes a difference.
It makes a difference when you know the history of when it started, and when it started for real, like what you said during World War II, when people were patriotic, when people felt good about their country and what they were doing for their country, when the country felt more united, when you wanted to support those who were serving the country, that millions of people were overseas fighting wars for us in the name of our country. So I get that's why it was started. But my question is, why sporting events? Why not at movies, at concerts? Why not? Why not at other places though? Why is it just sporting events where this has become an issue? Why don't we do it other places? Why don't we do it other places?
It was done at other places. They had like movie theater to play the national anthem before.
Why don't we do that anymore though? I mean,
I think it's just something that phased away. But I mean, like I said, it's the fact that you're not going to get participation from everyone, and there's a divided line on how people feel respected by doing the same act. I mean, you said World War II is when it became popular to play it at sporting events. Talk to the military people that were minorities who came back from war, and how were they treated? So why would they stand for a national anthem? Why would they stand? If you was treated like you fought in a war, you fought in a war.
People of color, Native Americans,
to defend our independence, to defend our democracy, to defend this free land that we live on, and you come back to that same free land and you're treated like crap, But yet you want me to
Vietnam
stand for the
vets
national anthem.
treated like crap.
Yeah, they were treated like crap. So when people don't stand, I understand it, but it shouldn't be I shouldn't be frowned upon because my perception of the flag or the national anthem is different than how you hold
So
that in reverence.
getting back to
And I'm a patriotic person, don't get me wrong. I support the United States.
Yeah.
But I don't think I should be entitled. I don't think I should be looked differently because, like, I'll give you an example. We went to a Dallas Mavericks game. The Cavs. We went to go see the Cavs play, and this is at the time at the heat of the Kaepernick situation. This was in 2017, and I told my wife, I said, I'm not standing, and she felt awkward. You know, she's like, I'm trying to stay focused on the fact of why I'm not standing. And she's like, hey, everyone around us is standing. It's like, hey. And it was just so funny, you know. I'm like, will you just let me have my moment? You know what I'm saying? Let me sit here and silently protest because this is what I felt was right. But she felt uncomfortable because of everyone that was around us, you know. And I think, you know.
I think in this country we have a hyper patriotism, and like you said, there's a peer pressure. Like if everyone else is standing, if 98% of the people are going to stand, then you're going to feel awkward, or the person sitting next to you is going to feel awkward. It's like, well, why isn't he standing? What you know, what's his issue? You know, why doesn't he stand? It's almost seen as like people take their patriotism so personally. It's like a religion. So think about the words of the Pledge of Allegiance. I mean, we don't even do that for God anymore. Do we come in to church and we stand at attention, put our hands over our heart, and recommit ourselves to serving God? Not all the time.
No, they don't.
Not all the
Well,
time.
you look at also that's another political debate right there because of the word God in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Mm-hmm.
You have a group of people who don't want the word God in it at all.
Yeah.
Then you have those that think that we don't have God in enough stuff. So that's a divide in itself. I think it's a federal law to stand during the national anthem when the flag is displayed.
It's not a law. You're not going to get arrested for it. Like, are you going to get
I
fined
think
or arrested for it?
Did he say he think it should be a federal law? Clarify that, Jeffrey. I think it's a federal law to stand during a national anthem.
It's not. It's not a federal law. You could kneel. You could go to the bathroom. You could get in line for a beer. You don't have to stand for the national anthem. There's nothing forcing you to take off your hat, put your hand on your heart, and stop whatever you're doing.
Well, like I said, it is 1998, huh? What was that? I gotta look that one up, man.
I gotta look that up because
because you gotta, like I said, it always goes back to history. No matter what we deal with in our society, if it doesn't go back to history, you're going to continue to debate about it and avoid the truth.
So here's the thing. Going back to our point, do you think they should make the University of Tennessee or any state university in Tennessee or any state university, period, especially since it's on TV, let's be honest. If you're going to be on TV, if you're going to be in the tournament, for example, the whole country's watching you, and they see that your state university, your players are kneeling, should the state be able to say to that university, you got to make your players stand?
No, they shouldn't say that. It shouldn't be a.
Okay. I just wanted to get you on the record. Okay.
No, I'm saying that. No, the state should have the state should not say what a person should do during the national anthem because
I agree.
Everybody's perception of the anthem is totally different.
Yep.
Everybody's perception of what patriotism is different.
Should we stop doing it? Should we stop doing it at sporting events?
No. I mean, if it's something, if it's going to be done, if you're going to do it, but don't alienate those who don't participate.
Here's another question for you. What did you think of them doing Lift Every Voice and Sing at the Super Bowl?
I thought it was unnecessary.
Why was it unnecessary?
Because you did it out of reaction.
Okay.
You should have done it you should do it every February since it's Black History Month for the last 50 years.
Okay.
But you
Fair.
waited
That's
until
fair.
there was controversy in our country, and then you
Mhm.
want to make a reaction, like a symbolic reaction.
And
Like I told you,
it's when there's millions and millions of eyes on it, like the Super Bowl.
now the thing about it is that you have not educated people on the purpose of the Black National Anthem. Let every voice and sing. Why does it exist? Because the regular national anthem, the Star Spangled Banner, does not represent Black people when it was written.
Okay.
That's why you know what I'm saying? It's like a movement of saying, you know, we want to be free. We want our own voice. We want to, you know what I'm saying? If you suppress that for so long, now you throw it out there. Then you have people who are big followers of the national anthem. They're looking like, what the heck is this song? Why are you playing this now? What does this supposed to mean?
Yeah.
Because it was reactionary. So you automatically had a pushback. Everything that the sports leagues did, I think, were good things that they did. But I think the reason for doing it was reactionary. The Black Lives Matter on the basketball courts, wearing names on the back of your jerseys. You know, why did you do any of these things over the last 50 years? Because it didn't cost you any money. Now things are costing you money. You want to be reactionary.
Here's
So
the thing.
it's symbolic. It's symbolic to me, man. And it's like, it doesn't mean anything. And let's stay there for a second.
Okay.
We mentioned that the NFL did the Star Spangled Banner. I mean, did the Black National Anthem.
Yep.
But yet, you look at coaching, and there's still the disparity in coaching. So that means that you did that whole song thing, all these things about Black Lives Matter, but your actions show what's really important. And when you hear pro football players talk about this, they made a good point that I never thought about. You know, when you have an owner who elects a coach for his, they hire a coach, the owner hires a coach for his team. He's going to hire somebody who talks like him, thinks like him, feels like him most of the time. And I never thought about it from that perspective. You feel safe with a coach who's the face of your franchise, that you don't have to worry about him saying something that might make you look bad. If you put a Black coach in place and things are going a certain way, okay, I'll give you two examples. Every time something happened for a racial situation in our country in basketball, you see three people speak all the time. Doc Rivers,
Yep.
he always has something to say because he feels deeply about
Popovich.
Well, I was going to get to those two. But
Okay.
Doc Rivers speaks. Doc Rivers is probably the most popular Black coach in basketball right now, right?
Yeah.
The most popular one in basketball. Now
Yeah.
you have Popovich. Go ahead.
Well, he has the biggest influence because he's of his experience and the respect that people have for him. But go ahead. Yeah.
But he speaks about racism regularly when these things happen. Then you
Yes.
have Popovich and Kerr who speaks.
Yep.
I believe in my heart, not knowing that I know this for facts, those two speak out because they are that close to their team and they have authentic conversations. And my video froze again, but I'm about to correct
Your
that joke
video
right now.
your video froze there.
Yeah, but they have authentic conversations, man. And I think that's the difference.
Here's the thing. I think the majority, the vast majority of white people didn't know that there was a black national anthem.
I know.
And then what would you say to the question that I hear from people is, why do we need a black national anthem? Or does it promote division in our country because now you have two different national anthems? Why do we have two different national anthems? We should all be under one national anthem. What do you say to that?
Well, the fact
What
is
is your
that
answer to that?
Well, the fact is that it came out because of the fact that we weren't represented with our own voice.
Okay.
The national anthem that you sing every sporting event did not represent the people of color during that time.
Okay.
It didn't represent it when it was written because in the third verse he talks about the slave and that, you know, the murder of the slave in that verse. So we knew that already. But for those that don't know, it came out during the what was it? It was first performed at Abraham Lincoln's birthday by Johnson. What was it? John Johnson? 1919. The NAACP national, they labeled it the Negro National Anthem. It was something that was needed at that time because of the transition of what our country was going through at that time, coming out of the Civil War, going into where, Reconstruction and, people just having their own voice. And it was something that really encouraged African Americans at that time.
Should we change the national anthem? Should we make it something different in 2021?
It's too late for that,
because
man.
of its history about one of its verses that we don't hear.
It's too late for that.
Too late?
It's too late. It's too late for that. This song has been our national anthem forever.
Okay.
Like I said, it's history behind it.
Okay.
When you're learning in school about the national anthem, if you be truthful what it's for, what it stood for at the time, let people be educated. Let them know what's going on.
Okay.
Don't just get mad when somebody don't respect it. You say, well, why don't ask them? Why don't you respect the flag? Why don't you respect the national anthem? Okay. I stand behind our flag, yes, but I don't idolize it. I don't hang it outside of my house.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? I just don't, because the presence of the flag means something different for this man than it does for me.
Okay.
And
so that's very good. I wanted to get your insights on that.
Yeah.
So I have a question for you, Lamar.
What's that?
I have a question. Do I need to be
Weldon Johnson wrote the words for that, by the way. 1900. Okay. What were you saying now?
Do I need to be less white? Am I too white? Am I too white?
Okay, let me ask you this then. Okay, I'm gonna follow yours up with another question. Do you need to be less white?
I don't know. You tell me.
What is
too white?
Less white. That's a good question, because
that's the words that they use in this
how do you be less of something that you are?
Training PowerPoint. How do you be less than what you are? I don't know.
You can't be less.
I need perspective on that.
Now, if you break it down a little more, could Mark? I'm looking at Mark Cuban's name. Could Darren be more? What is your ethnic background?
As far as I know, I have German ancestry. I have British ancestry. So
you could say,
be honest,
Darren could act more German. You could do more things that represent your German culture more. I can see that.
But why would I have to do that or not?
No. I just gave you an example of some of this, because like you're saying less white. What is less white? I gotta read what Jeff wrote. It's a lot what Jeff wrote.
According to Coca-Cola, to be less white is.
Well, play the video. Go ahead and play the video first.
Oh, okay.
Then we'll talk about it.
I don't have it ready here. Hold on.
Yeah, just throw that up there right quick. Then we'll come back to the conversation.
Here it is. Okay. Sorry about the pause there at the end.
Yeah, I didn't realize it was gonna go that long. But so now that we saw that video, I want to just bring up what the what some of the words were, and let's just chop through this right quick. We got about a good 15 minutes before the show's in, or I want to do this, and we can do this in next 5 to 10 minutes would be great. But let's just chop this down for a minute. To be less white, it says be less oppressive.
Yep.
Okay. Be less oppressive. Okay, some white people feel they're not oppressive. Okay, right? So the next one is be less arrogant. there's people that feel they're not arrogant, right? They feel that they're not arrogant, less certain, be less defensive,
Less
be less
trusting, it
ignorant.
says. I don't know what they mean by less trusting. Isn't that a positive thing to be a trusting
Where do
person?
you see
If you're a
less trust?
trusting,
Where you see less trusting?
I'm reading from an article that says to be less white, to be less oppressive, to be less ignorant. I'm sorry, to be less arrogant, to
Yeah.
be less trusting, to be less defensive, to be less ignorant, to be more humble, listen, to believe, break with apathy, and break with white solidarity. Um,
Okay. Only
I
thing
can
missing,
understand.
this is from the PowerPoint. This, because see, the PowerPoint, see, two things that people were, the PowerPoint came from a LinkedIn page that Coca-Cola has for their training.
Hmm.
That was one thing. But I put this post up yesterday saying that Coca-Cola took a very great opportunity and made it worse. You don't try to heal a
I agree with
situation by
that. I
making
agree with
people
that.
feel, you can't make people feel bad about something that they don't even realize that they're doing, for
Yep.
one.
Yeah.
That's one thing to look at it. So you took something, again, this is that reactionary stuff we talked about earlier. You know, Coca-Cola had plenty of opportunities
Yep.
to address this issue.
Hmm.
There's financial institutions that do the same thing. There's financial institutions who's been sued over racial discrimination,
Hmm.
but yet they want to have this inclusion. I give you an example. You can get online on your job, do a training, online training about race, discrimination, inclusion, all those things. An online training, and they give you these scenarios of what's wrong and what's right, what's violating civil rights, vice versa, what you should do to combat it, as in who you should tell of authority to get this person in trouble for
Hmm.
violating this
Okay.
piece of policy.
Okay.
The thing about it is that why won't they have real discussions of why this is important? I want to give you, I don't know if that answered your question or not. I know I took a long-winded route to it.
I don't. I don't remember what my question was. What was my question? No,
about
I just.
about about being less white, about these things, about these conversations about being less white.
Okay.
But thing about it, you can't
I mean, I only
approach
asked
it that way.
I asked the question only in jest. I mean,
But you,
does it offend me? It doesn't offend me until you get into the nitty gritty, and I just need to take a step back and say, are they talking about me personally? Am I personally arrogant? Am I personally oppressive? Am I personally ignorant? Well, no, they're not calling me personally these things. These are generalities, and these are things that culturally, that if I'm being honest, in general, in the grand scheme of things, historically, white people have been these things. So it doesn't
yeah.
offend me necessarily. Go ahead.
Well, the thing about it is that it was something you were saying that I wanted to touch base on. You were saying some good stuff there, and I just it kind of I could it was
Well,
one
I
point I
mean,
wanted to hold on.
I guess the reason why here's another thing, a point I wanted to make. I agree with you that Coca-Cola had an opportunity and to do something good, and I think they kind of blew it. And I think you're right. You don't start a conversation with sort of beating people over the head with like, "Hey, you're bad, you're wrong, and this is why." People are going to react to that, just rightly or wrongly. It might even be the truth.
Yeah,
Okay, but
yeah.
you know, it surprises me that a company that as big as Coca-Cola would have had, I would think, a pretty um, informed diversity training as far as like this is how you do things and this is why you do things. So it seems a bit of a blunt instrument. I
Well,
could see this happening at like some sort of group. Um, I don't know. I could see this happening in a small group of people that are just shooting, going back and forth, and somebody puts this out, but as far as an official training policy, I'm a bit surprised.
well, like I said, the training policies are long overdue. The thing
Oh,
about it is
they
that,
are.
but the thing about it is that why when you want to do a training process, a training thing with a company, and you're in a part of a company,
Diversity training.
if you're part of a company, whether it's government training, whether it's corporate America training, whether it's sporting events, if you don't show what you've done to violate these policies on your own and say this is why we need to do it. Coca-Cola, for instance. I don't know if you ever known this before. Coca-Cola Company agreed yesterday. This was back in, I think it's 19, what is it? This came out in 2000. The largest settlement ever for a racial discrimination case. The Coca-Cola Company agreed to pay more than $156 million to resolve a federal lawsuit brought by Black employees. The settlement also mandates that the company make sweeping changes, costing an additional $36 million, and grants broad monitoring powers in the panel of outsiders and an unusual concession of employment discrimination cases. The lawsuit filed in April 1999 calls Coke of erecting a corporate hierarchy in which Black employees were clustered at the bottom of the pay scale, averaging $26,000 a year less than white workers.
Wow.
As redress, the settlement provides as many as 2,000 current and former Black salaried employees with an average of $40,000 in cash, while the 4 plaintiffs whose names on the lawsuit will receive the $300,000 apiece.
Okay.
There's going to be a fundamental change at Coca-Cola Company, who worked for Kimberly Great Orton, who worked for the company for 13 years, who said that she's made less than the white coworkers she supervised. A lot like a rock in a pond where they're going to be ripples. Now, the thing about it is this. That was in 1999. How many diversity trainings? Now, listen, they said that they said that it's going to cost $36 million to put monitoring powers in a panel of outsiders. Okay? You're going to make sweeping changes in your company. It's 2021, and you're giving a diversity training with crap that says be less white.
Yeah.
What did you learn from 1999? Nothing. You know why? You know why? Because the current employees have no idea about this case. I bet you the people that was in that training did not know about this case.
They didn't.
Just about every company right now who's going through these trainings about diversity and inclusion, you have people, the majority of them are white people, who will like push back a lot of times on this. Where you have minority people are encouraging it because they want to tell the story. But what's happening is the company itself does not tell their story. Brown College was one of the biggest colleges that supported the slave trade. They were supporting it financially to people who didn't have credit to pay for slaves. Bank of America, Wells Fargo. These banks were leading the charge. So when they have these meetings about diversity and inclusion, I can promise you their history does not come up in the conversation.
No.
So if the company you work for right now was to have a meeting about diversity, and when they start off their meeting telling you, well, back in 18 such and such, this is what our company did. This is what our company supported. Well, in 1992, our company was sued this amount of money for this case. We tried to correct this issue. 2011, this such and such happened, and we got sued because we discriminated against this type of person. 2021, we got sued again because we discriminated against this person. If you came out as showing you how your company has been impacted by failing over and over again, this is why we need the training so we won't fail again. They should
start the conversation with that. They should say, this is why this company has mandated diversity training, and then begin with these things that you're talking about and give dates. And this is what happened. And we want to do things. We want to do things in a different way there, because a lot of people now questions like diversity training. Why do I need this? Why do companies need to do this? You had Trump pull out of or try to pull federal organizations and companies and military out of diversity type training things because it was un-American, right? Quote. So
but could that also lead to exposure? If you have these trainings, could it then lead to exposure to what your company has done in the past?
Oh yeah,
you're like,
of course.
It can bring up your dirt. It can bring up your dirt. If you pull out of these trainings and make it unlawful type trainings.
Here's the thing.
you're exposing yourself.
Well, here's the thing. I mean, these things that have happened decades ago, like you say, how many people remember that? Because these people probably weren't with the company then. I mean,
Exactly.
just like when individuals make mistakes and years later they come back and say, you know what, I was wrong. Just like a politician who voted for a bill, voted for
Yeah.
the crime bill in the 90s. They come back now, like Hillary Clinton, Joe Biden, they say, you know what, I was wrong. And
Yeah.
people embrace that. If people are
Yeah.
willing to admit where they were wrong and what they did, if Wells Fargo or Coca-Cola or whoever came out and said, you know what, we were wrong in years past, and this
Yeah.
is why, and we're committed to doing something different and better in the future, people would accept that. And
Yeah.
people would want to buy their products nowadays. People would want to work for that company even.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
would like to work for a company that takes these things seriously, that says that these things are important.
Yeah.
And so that's the way I feel. I want to come
Well,
back to Jeffrey Donnelly. Go ahead.
the training process that these companies have show that it's not as important as they say it is, in my opinion. Coca-Cola just showed you that it's not that important to them because they're not being transparent enough with the employees to let them know why this is important. Don't go by because it's the nice trending hashtag. You know what I'm saying? Don't go for it because you may lose money in the immediate. Talk
Well,
about why we're here. Why are we at this point? It's 2021 and we're still here.
if we really believe that companies are people, then um, companies need to show some uh, how do I mean some humility.
Yeah, I agree.
And many people, many companies aren't willing to do that because they're scared. Any organization is scared about, like, well, are we going to lose business? Are we going to lose our people? Are we going to lose our following if we come out and we admit that we did something wrong? I mean,
Well, you're going to continue to have this pushback.
so
Okay,
Jeffrey
it's about to
Donnelly,
end.
according to this code, Title 36, Section 171 of the United States Code, apparently, you are required to stand. It says should stand at attention, facing the flag with your right hand over your heart. However, were you arrested at that Mavericks game, though?
Nah,
No? Did anyone say anything to you other than
nobody
your
said.
wife?
Well, she didn't really say anything. It was almost like she just felt uncomfortable
Okay.
because everyone else was standing.
But, I mean,
And
no one from the Mavericks, like no usher came and said,
no,
"Sir, can we have a talk with you?" Or no
no.
security officer said, "Mr. Dillingham, come with us, please."
I had my LeBron. I
I
had all
mean,
my LeBron gear on. So if I got arrested, LeBron would have came up and took my defense and said something on my behalf. He would
okay.
have stood right. He would have had to been in the press conference mentioning my name, how they did me wrong.
Okay. Okay, keep dreaming.
No, they didn't. They didn't say anything to me, man. And that's not the first time though. It's like that's happened several times. It depends on what's going on in the country. I've sat. I mean, going all the way back to old Municipal Stadium with the Browns, man. I protested back then, and I didn't even look at it as a protest. I looked at it. I'm not standing today. I don't feel like standing.
I mean, I don't know how you can enforce it without violating someone's civil rights, though.
You can't. You
I
can't
just
enforce
don't
it. You
think
can't
that
force it.
you can't fine them, you can't arrest them. I mean, the civil liberties union would be all over that.
If you were in the military, because you're owned by the country, I can see you're being forced to do something like that. But as a
Mhm.
regular citizen, I can't see that being something where they gotta force
No,
you to do it.
you
It's
can't. You can't.
it's not good. Like I said, everyone's stance on it is different. I say
If it's legal to burn a flag, it's certainly legal to sit during the national anthem.
and that's something. Who burns the flag? I've never burned a flag. I never
I never
thought
burned
about
a
burning
flag.
a flag.
That
But
would
it's
make me
always
feel that would
some.
make me feel wrong.
It
I don't
seems
know.
like some cuckoo
Burning
bird.
anything is just kind
It's like a cuckoo bird that will burn a flag.
of.
It does nothing. So me sitting for the flag, it leads you to ask the question of why are you sitting? You're not telling why I'm sitting. You know, and that goes for anything. The Star Spangled Banner, the Pledge of Allegiance. There's times I just didn't feel like saying a Pledge of Allegiance
Yep.
because I feel that we're pledging allegiance to this flag when the flag is not doing anything for me. It's a symbol. It's not nothing. It's a symbol.
Yep.
I'm not idolizing anything. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's what it comes down to. The
So,
flag represents the United States, yes. Will I hold the flag as an American? Yes. But I'm not going to idolize the flag. That's just what it is.
What is your bottom line, Lamar?
The next time the Atlanta Hawks and the Oklahoma Thunder wear the same color uniforms, they need to be smacked. That's my bottom line. I don't know if they said.
We have a
crazy.
funny video ready that the Oklahoma City Thunder, because I think they were the visiting team, had to change their uniforms at halftime because they were both wearing red uniforms.
Well, one was orange and one was red.
One was
but
orange. They were very close in color.
Yeah, TV it made it look like it was the same color uniform, man.
Yeah,
that was hilarious. Do we have that?
we do. You want to show it? Here we go.
You can show it.
The way to create the contact here on Muskie, just takes the bump, stays with the shot, concentrates, knocks it down.
We're excited.
Oh my, that's finishing with authority. And that's the aggressiveness we've been talking about. Beautiful. Good drive there by Kevin Hurt.
Somebody got a phone call. Yes, it's the same game, same opponent, but different uniforms. OKC has sent the orange unis to the laundry, and now they will wear white the rest of the night.
Well, I'm kind of glad they did because it was clashing, and one team or the other can get confused very quickly and make some bad passes, throw it to the wrong guy. So I'm glad they changed those jerseys as well.
There you go. So yeah, it was clashing. It wasn't a matter that they were throwing the ball to the wrong people. It was that they were just clashing, man. It's just
for TV.
handle
For
that
TV,
on the eyes.
Well, actually, they had several phone calls from fans who were watching it on TV. They had several calls, and they were like, "We can't distinguish the two because TV will make the colors look different in person, But you've always seen a team with white, a team with the colors. You've always seen that. It's like, why would you do something that stupid?
Well, teams have been experimenting with different jerseys and different limited release jerseys. It's gotten a little bit out of hand. Some of the jerseys, the Lakers, are wearing blue. And
That's
I'm
an old
well,
Lakers. That's an old Lakers uniform.
Is it really? Oh, okay.
Yeah, Lakers had a blue uniform back. I think they were the Minneapolis Lakers. I'm not sure if it was the LA Lakers or not, but I know they had a blue uniform at one time.
Well, sometimes you get these uniforms that are well, where do they come up with that? Where do they get these things? I don't know if they're trying to get people to buy their uniforms. That's part of it. But the NFL does the same thing. I think the University of Oregon started that. They every week they had a different kind of stylish uniform or different color helmet or different shoes or something because Phil Knight donated a lot of money and gave them stuff. But I think maybe that's what got started. Now you got pro teams changing uniforms, and they got all these different uniforms. Some of them are cool, some of them are just downright ugly, to be honest.
Well, I do have a picture of that, man. I can just show you right quick to show you that.
Do it.
What I have here. But yeah, the Lakers. I was looking for the history of it. They showed.
No, I like the Mamba jerseys that they have. I don't know why they haven't worn that this year, but hey,
that's the black one, right?
Yeah,
I thought they did wear
that's
that.
the snakeskin. The snakeskin. That's why they've been losing so much lately.
So you're saying they haven't worn that this year?
I don't think so.
I thought they did.
Maybe
I could be wrong. I could be wrong. But yeah, but this is a vintage Lakers jersey, and it's. I'm not sure what year it is. I was looking for a date and a year on it. But that's the Laker blue back in the day.
That looks like Clippers uniform because the font is the same thing. That the Clippers have that same font. So
it could be a Clippers, but if you look at the shorts on the side, it says Lakers. Okay. Look on the side of his shorts.
All right, I got it.
Say Lakers there. So that's just taking a throwback to where that came from. That is nothing new. but that goes back to back in the day when they had Laker uniforms.
Okay.
So anyway, man, I enjoyed the show with you today. So my bottom line for the day, you threw it at me first this time. The bottom line for me today would be for people to sit back, observe everything that's around you. Try to interpret what's really being said and what's not being said.
Okay.
I think we have a lot of people stuck in their ways of assumptions and not reality. So I feel that when we sit back and we start doing some like research on some things, when we question whether it's politics, whether we question parties, whether we question politicians, whether we question policies at our jobs.
Okay.
We have to stand back and say, okay, sometimes we do things because of necessity. Sometimes we do things out of going with the flow. Then there's times we do it because we're instructed to do it. When we're looking at what's going on in our country right now, we tend to take a side without really understanding what side we're taking.
Yep.
For you mentioned about these policies like Coca-Cola's having at the job. Do you have at that job? Do you have the right to say, I don't want to take this program because it doesn't benefit me? Or do you research the reason why it's good to take this class?
You work for that company.
The same thing with supporting people in politics. Do you support a person just because you want to align with a party, or do you support a person because of what they truly believe in and you believe those same ways? Sometimes we're not looking at the full picture.
Okay.
So I just want people to really sit back and really look at a full picture of what's going on, like a full view, and not get caught up in emotion and rhetoric and going with the flow of things. Stand firm on your own true beliefs and what you stand for as a person.
Good. That's good.
You're muted.
Good advice. I'm muted? Can you hear me?
Yes, you're muted. I don't hear you.
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now?
Can you hear me?
Hello? Hello?
There you go. There you go.
Oh, can you hear me now?
Yes, I can.
Okay, I don't know what happened there, but that's unusual. That's never happened before. Anyways, my bottom line is that people need to stop being so sensitive and stop being so offended, or stop being even pretending like you're offended at something. If somebody says something to you like you need to stop being too white or something like that, stop and listen to what they have to say and why they're saying it. And if you disagree with it, then fine. But it doesn't necessarily mean that they're being personal to you, or they're being personally insulting to you, or they're saying something personally about you. So, and that goes for a lot of things. It's like, stop being so offended. Like if you can't share things online that you want to share, okay, how is that the end of the world? How is that a violation of your rights as a person, that you can't post on Twitter what you want to post on Twitter? I mean, have we gotten to the point in this country where like we will get so ultimately offended if like somebody asks you to wear a mask in the store because this is store policy? I mean, people need to stop and step back and say, and just follow the rules, go with the flow. And you're not being oppressed, okay? Your rights are not being taken away. This is still America. Things are going to be okay.
I got you, but a little pushback on that is going with the
go
flow.
for it.
Going with the flow has been the typical thing to do for many people throughout the years.
Maybe that was a bad choice. That was a bad choice of words.
Because the reason why I say that is because, like when people are saying "be less white," that's been something that many people have had to be less of themselves throughout history. You could probably ask 1,001 black people why they had to be less black, whether it was because of the color of their hair or how they did their hair. They couldn't be themselves. They had to be less of themselves in the workplace. So what did they do? They go with the flow. Why did they go with the flow? Because they kept their jobs. I'm not saying for people to go with the flow right now. I'm telling people to educate themselves on what's right and what's wrong and why certain things are as they are. To ask somebody to be less white, that's nothing I would actually do. But I would steer to the fact that this is what you're doing that can be looked upon as
Sure.
being discriminatory toward someone else.
Well,
and then they could put in their own assumption. Okay, well, maybe that's what white people tend to do. But I mean, that could be
as a
catchy there.
Just as a reply to that, the reason why I used go with the flow is just because we got people who all this like do your own research people and like, well, we don't believe the science and they don't believe what they're being told about anything anymore. And so it's like sometimes it's like the reason why there's a reason why there's a policy in place to wear a mask. There's a reason why the restaurant only wants 20 people inside. There's a reason why we're not having totally in-person class right now. And so, you know, we start to push back on everything, and we start to think that we're living in some kind of a nanny state, and that's just not true. So
don't go. Just don't go. If you can't go to that, if a place tells you to wear a mask, don't go to that place if you don't want to wear a mask. Go somewhere where you can walk around freely without your mask.
Well, there's a lot of people who think it's like, well, that's infringing of my rights because I can't walk into this store without a mask. And it's like, no, it's not. You don't have the right to put other people's health at risk. That's what it comes down to. So, I mean, I'm not just talking about masks. I'm talking about all kinds of things. People
everything.
People get offended too easily. It's like I would never say to somebody, stop being too white, stop being too black, stop being too Asian. I don't even know what that would mean. Okay, and I definitely want people to be themselves. Okay, but that's not what they're saying when they say stop being too white. That's not what their point is. They're not saying you don't have to be yourself or you can't be yourself. That's what I say. You need to stop and listen to what they're actually saying.
I agree.
And then if you don't agree with what they're saying, say so. But at least let them have their say. You're not even listening to people.
Yeah. Well, people are offended by the fact that they put that in there and they felt offended because it points toward one group of people. Well, one group of people, not saying those particular individuals, but that's what created the issue. And so over the years, you know, like I said, when you say go with the flow is one thing, but my thing is always if you don't research, do it, and educate yourselves, you're gonna always be stupid or ignorant. You can always be ignorant.
But who are you listening to, though? That's the thing. It's like when all these people that say, "Well, do your own research," are only going to look up to things that appeals to them. If they don't agree with that, if they don't agree with the science or they don't agree with any particular kind of research, they're going to reject it altogether. So
it depends
on who
change.
You're listening to. You say, well, educate yourself. It's like, well, where are you going to educate yourself? Are you actually going to a library? Are you typing something into Google? Where are your news sources? It's like, how are you educating yourself?
I look at it from all sides. I don't do the confirmation bias. I don't go with people who just like what I have to say or believe what I believe. I go on both sides so I can see it from both sides. But that's what people need to do in general. That if you don't like wearing a mask in a place, for instance, and you want to argue for the fact that the mask is harmful for you, that's one thing. Now do your research. But we're talking about something that's really, really ridiculous because we're talking about a privately owned company who's telling you to wear a mask. You just don't go to that place. Go somewhere else. I mean, but when you're talking about researching something that's important, when I'm saying like whether you talk about the voter elections, steal the elections and all that crap, do your research. You want to talk about discrimination, do your research.
Okay.
You know, you want to talk about any of these things, politics, all these things, do your research on both sides so you're fully informed and not just going by emotion and because somebody hurt your feelings, you know. So anyway, man, we went past our bottom line.
My bottom line is just don't be so offended.
Gotcha. I agree.
Don't be so offended.
Okay, man. What's for breakfast, dude?
What's for breakfast?
Yeah, I haven't eaten breakfast.
I'm thinking about lunch now.
I'm hungry, dude. So anyway, man, we want to thank everybody for joining us on the bottom line today. And if you have any questions or any topics that you want to see us. Mr. Potato Head, what's up with Mr. Potato Head? What's going on with that, by the way, right quick?
Apparently, they're going to change his mustache so he's genderless, or I shouldn't even say he, I guess. I didn't read the article. Did your screen freeze?
How
Did your
can you
screen freeze there, Lamar? I mean,
No,
the look
did
on
it
your face
freeze?
was like,
Oh, but why change Mr. Potato Head? He's a legend. I had a Mr. Potato Head.
I had one too. I had one too.
He was my only toy that was of color at that time. So until I got the G.I. Joe. I got a black G.I. Joe when I was younger.
I was going to ask about the G.I. Joe, yeah.
I had a black G.I. Joe, man. And he had like fuzzy hair and a fuzzy
He had
beard.
fuzzy. I had the same thing. He was like this big, right?
Yeah.
This big?
I had a black G.I. Joe. That's what was so cool.
Okay.
And I was like, man, yeah, my mom and dad, this was when I was like 5. I'm like, where'd you find this at? So that was pretty cool. I remember that one. But yeah, Mr. Potato Head, man, I feel bad because I don't understand why they want to make him genderless.
Well, you could have a Mr. and Mrs.
I thought they had a Mrs. Potato Head. Didn't they have the whole family at one time?
Yeah, you could interchange them. You could put on, lipstick and whatever, sunglasses, a mustache.
take his name. So they're taking the name off. They
I
don't want
don't know.
Mr.
See, I didn't do my research with this one, so I shouldn't talk about it. I just saw a headline.
Yeah.
I didn't even click on it. So
Well, California stores did make a law that they will stop using gender as girls and boys and clothing aisle and toy aisle. They're going to make a change on that. So you're going to have like all the toys in one aisle. I thought it was kind of ridiculous because I'm like, if I'm looking for a toy for a biological boy, I want to be able to go directly to that toy. Or if I'm looking for clothes, I want to go through a bunch of dresses to get to the pair of jeans.
They could go say, like these are action figures. These are.
But yeah, label it some kind of way so I know
you
what
could
I'm
label it differently though.
Yeah.
This is dolls. This is action figures. These are whatever the toy is.
Are they going to put them put them like on the shelf lined up?
Still categorize it. I think.
Baby dolls, dolls.
I don't know. I've heard girls say to me, "It was like, why couldn't I play with squirt guns and like GI Joes?" And
no one said they couldn't play with them. Like my daughter.
It's not that you can't. It's just that they weren't like marketed to that. It's like they're not in the girls aisle. So like when you go to the store and you're 4 years old, you're gonna go to the girls aisle to see all these things, and you're influenced by that.
Right. I understand that.
You're going to be influenced by that.
Like my daughter, Bria. My daughter Bria. She had the biggest blow up because for Christmas she had a cooking set, right? And then my son had a remote control car.
Yeah.
She lost it. She could.
So
Bria. Have you ever seen Bria seem like she would lose? She completely lost it at 3 years old. Had a temper tantrum. So the next
I
year,
play with the car?
It's not that she couldn't play with it. She was like, I didn't get it.
I didn't get it. It wasn't my gift. Yeah.
So the next year, my dad bought matching, what do you call it? Like NASCAR trucks, pickup trucks, remote control cars.
Yeah.
One was red, one was black. So I don't think there's anything wrong with playing with another gender's toys. That's not the issue. I don't have an issue with that. I look at to go to the farthest extreme of labeling things or taking labels away from some things is not necessary in my opinion. That's all. And that's not against that. I'm against these neutral gender type things. That's not what I'm against. Not at all. But I'm saying like if you look at boys' clothes, jeans, should I have to go through deciphering between a female pair of jeans and a male pair of jeans? Because they're not the same.
No.
They fit differently.
Or like with pink. Like as little girls, there's all this pink stuff. Pink. And then like girls will say to me, I hate pink. I don't even like pink. Why is everything pink? Like when I was growing up, everything's pink. It's all this pink stuff. It's like, why?
Right. I agree with that. You don't have to base it by colors, right? I'm not a pink person. I did wear a pink shirt for my graduation picture. And people tease me about it now because I don't wear anything pink now. I just never liked the color pink. I just didn't like the color, But anyway, that's something that's really
we could talk about that some other time. But there's Happy Meal toys, like you go through. It's like I want a boy's toy or a girl's toy, right?
Right. So, I mean, I think that it needs to be identified sometime because, say, for instance, it's unless you like if it's a neutral, a gender neutral toy set, then that's different. That's different. You give a toy, you go to a boy or a girl. I mean, like even like fragrances. I can wear a neutral gender fragrance that smells mild and calming. It's not like a female smell or a fully male smell or whatever. But
Yeah.
I've done that before. But
Okay.
I don't know. Anyway, that's another conversation. We'll bring that up on another one. Because I did want to bring up the one about the track star. We missed that today, but we'll try to bring
We're
that
gonna
up
have to
next
talk.
week.
We'll make sure we'll talk about that next time. So
Yeah, because that's a good one there.
until then, everyone, take care of yourselves, and we'll see you soon this week. Roll.